वैवस्वतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Hari Om. Okay, so we are discussing chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, and where we are at the stage where what's happening is Krishna Bhagwan is encouraging Arjun to do some action, right? He's saying that, okay, I don't want to do any action. Let me renounce the action and just go on the mountain and done with it, not doing any worldly activity. Here, Krishna Bhagwan is encouraging him to do the action, right? They have to do the action. And where we left that, if they say that you don't want to do it for yourself, that's okay. Do it for welfare of others. That's where we left last time, that hey, wait, do it for welfare of others if you don't want to do it for yourself, right? So now, you know, somebody will say, hey, why should I act? What's the relationship between me and welfare of others? I don't want to do welfare of others. I just want to sit and relax. That question can come, right? I have done my part, my worldly part. Now I don't want to think about welfare of others. Where do I come in picture with welfare of others or helping others, right? Mainly is helping others, right? I don't think about, I'm ready for that. So then for that, Krishna Bhagwan says the remaining part of shloks from, you will see 4 or 5 shloks next, that he's going to explain why. Why do we have to do these actions, right? So let's look into it, because this is very important for us as worldly people to think about what kind of action we should be doing and why we should be doing action, right? Why are we doing this karma? Why don't we just relax and sit on the couch and watch TV? Why don't we do that? Why we do all the other actions, right? So we need to know why are we doing that. So now Krishna Bhagwan is going to give us the answer to why. So we're going to start with, we finished at shlok 20, and we're going to start with the verse 21 of chapter 3, right, today? So are you ready, Nishi, to sing 20 first?
Yes.
Awesome. Come on, let's start.
Yad yad akrati shreshtas.
Yad yad akrati shreshtas.
Tat tat eva tarojana.
Tat tat deva tarojana.
Soyat brahmanam kurute.
Sayat brahmanam kurute.
Lokastad anuvartate.
Lokastad anuvartate. Now we're going to sing all together. Yadda-kriti-sheshtas tatta-deve-tarojana sayat-parmanam kurute lokastad-anuvartate. So here it says whoever or whatever the supreme person does, like the ideal does, what happened? People follow, right? So whatever standard a supreme person, a ideal for everybody sets, everybody, the whole world follows, right? Do you agree with that, guys? Whatever ideal, who is your ideal? Anybody? Avika, who is your idol? Anybody that you want, you look for and look at them and say, I want to dress like this, I want to be like this person, I want to be like same as this.
Olivia Rodrigo.
Right? You want to look like her, you want to dress like her, right? So that's your idol, right? What about CIU?
I had the same one.
Same one? Okay. Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. So we have somebody like, right? So here Krishna Bhagavan is saying there is a supreme person. So whoever is supreme person, people wants to follow them. You know, initially when we are small, we follow our parents. We follow our parents very much. Like it has been said till 0 to 10, parents are everything for kids. They are, you know, heroes for their kids. And after they turn 11, 12, the parents become 0. And who becomes hero for kids? Their friends, right? Doesn't that happen? It happens to everybody. So, parents, they follow parents. Kids actually not listen to parents, they imitate parents, right? So they follow parents. So parents are supreme for kids. They follow parents. Now after parents, kids follow who? Teachers, right? We follow our teachers. What teacher says that we want to do it, we do that. I remember when I was, there was a Hindi alphabet that my teacher taught me to write. I'm going to show you how my teacher taught me to write. So there is a H in Hindi alphabet. So that my teacher told me to write, do like this, duh, and then do like this. That's H. And when I came home, I don't remember the front part, so I asked my dad to teach me. And my dad kept teaching me like this, that you have to do like this. And I kept on saying, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. My teacher taught me a different way. And my dad sat down till 11 o'clock and I was crying that you are not teaching me the right way. My teacher taught me a different way to write. So I was so much following my teacher that even the little arch that my dad did not made it was all wrong that my dad was teaching me. Right? So that's how kids are. Kids follow their teacher so much. There is a story that a teacher, English teacher in the school, told a kid to spell net. So he spelled N-E-T, but teacher said no, it should be N-E-T-T. And then kid says, okay, N-E-T-T, because teacher said N-E-T-T, so net is N-E-T-T. Then he went home and he was doing the homework and his dad saw that he is writing N-E-T-T as net. And then the dad was English professor in a college. So he said, son, you don't write N-E-T-T, it's N-E-T. And then the kid says, no, teacher taught me N-E-T-T, so it's an N-E-T-T. So that is like, I'm the professor of English in the college. I know better than your teacher, so it should be N-E-T. So he goes to school and he says, my dad is saying it should be N-E-T. The teacher says, who is your dad? What does he do? And the son says that he is college professor, English professor in a college. So school teacher understand that he might be more learned person than I am. So then teacher says, yeah, N-E-T is the net, but when you add one more T, it becomes stronger. It becomes a stronger net. It's just a funny story that they talk about how the kids follow their teacher and parents. So, so that's how teacher, and that's the teacher becomes supreme for the kids. Then some friends become supreme, then some other people, like in the people who influence you become supreme for you, and everybody follows them, right? in Sermon on Mount, Jesus told his apostle that you gonna be the light, the city on the hill. What does it mean? That the people who will lead will be the city on the hill. So whenever there is a city on the hill, even if it is dark or light, so in the daytime you can see the whole entire city. The same way in the night you can see the light of that city from far away if they are on the hill. So they cannot hide their light, right? So any leaders, any influential people cannot hide their light, right? They are sitting on the hill, so everybody can watch them, everybody sees them. That's how it goes. So teachers, now in spiritual teachers also are influential, right? They also influence us how to live our life. Religious teachers are also influential, are also supreme. I would say the equal responsibility goes on students too. How? Because in spiritual class, if you are learning spirituality, you come with a responsibility, right? What is your responsibility? That you are learning a sacred thing, right? You are learning a big thing, so you have to behave accordingly. You cannot behave like everybody makes mistakes. You will be able to make mistakes, but you cannot behave unethical, right? Because you are going through you are studying spirituality, there is no room of unethical behavior, right? So that's given. That's where your spirituality comes. So Ramakrishna Paramahansa always used to say how spirituality works is, the karma works is, you go from unethical to ethical and ethical to spiritual. That's how the karma should work. So the person who is doing unethical work, when we start teaching them spirituality, they go do ethical work. So this has to be base of spirituality. If you don't have ethical work, then you cannot go to the next level of spirituality, right? So adharma means unethical work, goes to ethical work, which is what? Dharma, right? And then you go to karma yoga, which is spiritual work, right? So that's how the karma yoga works, right? So you go from unethical to ethical to spiritual. So the person who is teaching the spirituality has to be here, right? The student who is learning spirituality has to be here, right? So you guys understand, it's not just teacher, the students has responsibility of their own too, to work on this side of the board, not this side of the board, right? So you guys come with this with responsibility also. So now so God is saying that you have to make sure that if you are the supreme, you have to make sure, because people are going to follow you. Whatever you are doing, everybody will follow you. Now, to say further, Krishna Bhagavan explained another level, that what should be, initially whenever you are trying to convince somebody, what do? You lay out how the world behaves. Then you say, look at me how I behave, right? So you go step by step. So now Krishna Bhagavan explained that, world, how does the world behave? World behave like, when somebody does whatever, the leaders do something, everybody follows. So like, Avika said that Rodriguez, how she does, all her followers will follow, right? Will do the same thing, right? Olivia Rodriguez, is that the name?
Yeah,
okay.
I guess.
Okay, so yeah, that's what you do, right? And everybody has somebody, right? Everybody has somebody that they want to do accordingly. So that's how it goes. So what Krishna Bhagavan is saying to Arjun, you are the leader. If you stop doing the action, what's going to happen? Everybody will stop doing the action. So the whole whoever comes to do the fight, if you say I don't fight, then nobody will fight, right? Everybody will and then Kauravas, the other party, will win the fight. So you don't want to do that. So that's Krishna Bhagavan is saying that. So he put the world's aspect the first. Then the next step is that he's saying, let's see what I do. Look at me, how I do. So then next slok comes and he's going to explain what he does. Okay, so we're going to move on to verse 22nd. Nishi, you ready? Nishi, you got it?
Sorry, I'm on mute.
Okay.
Na me partasti kartavyam.
Na me partasti kartavyam.
Trisu lokesu kinkana.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Nanvapatam avapatyam.
Nanavaptavyavaptavyam.
Varta eva cha karmani.
Varta eva cha karmani. Beautiful. Again, all together. Na me partasti kartavyam. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. Nanavaptavyavaptavyam. Varta eva cha karmani. So here in this world and all the three worlds, so Arjun, Krishna Bhagavan is saying, hey Arjun, in this entire three worlds, I don't have anything that I need. Look at me, I don't need anything, but I constantly keep doing my actions, right? So here God is saying that I don't need anything in these three worlds. Let's get the explanation of three worlds. Do you guys can understand what are the three worlds that our religion says? Anybody there? What are the three worlds that our religion explains? Most like basic religion. We don't even have to read Gita to get those three worlds. Anybody know? Anybody know here? Guys?
Yeah,
What are
deep
the-
sleep. Yes.
Yeah, that
I
could be
guess
true
that's
too.
it.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Deep-
just earth,
Earth,
you know,
heaven,
regular
yeah.
heaven and
Yeah, earth, heaven, and the bad place where you don't say the name, right? So earth, heaven, and I will do filling the blanks. So anyway, so there are three worlds, right? We talk about that, and Nanu was saying the right thing too. Sean was saying the right thing too, that there are three worlds also in our life also. One is sleeping, deep sleep that we do, one is dreaming, and one is awakened. So there are three things that we are awake, we are in deep sleep, and we are dreaming. Those three stages are also three worlds for us. But here God, we will explain in a layman language that he is saying that all these three worlds, he doesn't need anything. And now another thing that we have to watch out is that God is here. Krishna Bhagavan did not say that I am God. When he is saying that, oh, I don't need anything, still I am doing action. So he is representing a person. That there is two kind of person that anybody can predict, right? The first one is like either he is being picturing himself as an enlightened person who already got enlightened, so he doesn't need anything, right? Outside these three worlds, he doesn't need anything. So he is either enlightened person, right? So we can predict by the shlok that he is saying, I don't need anything, I don't have any desire to get anything in these three worlds. And what kind of person is that? The person that is already enlightened, right? They don't have any desire to get anything out of anywhere. Or he is an incarnation of Vishnu, which He did not explain it yet, but we know, because we are reading Gita after 5,000 years, we know Krishna Bhagavan is the incarnation. But at this time, Arjun did not know. So how Arjun is taking him? As a guru, as an enlightened person, right? So now we need to think about that part too. So what is Krishna Bhagavan saying here is that for an enlightened person, for an unenlightened person, there is always desire and they need. They do action. Why? To fulfill their desire, right? I need money, I need education, or I need this, I need a big house, or I need this. There is a need, and that's where the action comes, right? I need to go play with my friends, or I need to go talk to my friends. There are desires, that's why we do things, right? But here Krishna Bhagavan is saying that for me as a Krishna Bhagavan, so he is talking about himself, I don't need anything from this whole entire world. Still, I continuously do action. So what he's saying, he's giving his own example. So think about it, how Krishna Bhagavan is playing his psychology over Arjun. What he's doing, the first he said, look at Raja Janak, who was enlightened. Guys, I'm going to separate you guys if you guys are going to keep doing it. You're disturbing the class. So there is Raja Janak, who you think as an ideal. Raja Janak did action and got enlightened, right? So he said that first. Second, he said the person, you have to do enlightened because that it is, you are a leader and you need to do it because everybody will follow you. That was the second. The third thing, now he's saying that look at me. I keep on doing action, though I don't need anything, still I do action, right? So he is using his all three psychology. When you want to convince somebody, you do that, right? You say, look at me, I do it. First you say, that person also does it. This person also does it. I do it too. Now better you do it too, right? So that's how he is explaining it to Arjun, that why he needs to take an action, right? So now he is talking about an enlightened person. Let's talk about a little bit about that person. So what is the work for enlightened person? We discussed a lot in last class. Does when the person got enlightened, when they are at the their spiritual journey is fulfilled, do you think they stop working? No, right? We discussed that Vivekananda Swami did not stop working, right? Ramakrishna Paramahansa, after getting enlightenment, they did not stop working. So what kind of work do they have to do? What do they do after getting enlightened? Anybody remember from last class? What do the people do when they get enlightened but they still continue their journey? But what kind of action do they do? What?
I want to hear about actions for others.
Yeah, they serve others, right? They don't do anything from themselves because they don't need anything. You remember that? They do selfish actions, right? So remember that, guys. So that's how it goes, right? All the people who got enlightened in the history, we saw them, how they work, how they do it. So we have example. Not everybody does the same thing. They do different things. Usually they are categorized into three different kind of possibility that they do. So to explain you, I will tell you a story. There was three people. They were in the same village. They were living in the same village. The village people were very sad. The kids were sad that they have to go to school. The older people were sad that their life is going on and they have to work and do so much work and chores they have to do. The parents were sad too that they have to do so much work. There was the happiness came, but then it doesn't stay forever. It goes away. It doesn't stay. People were saying that I'm never happy all the time. I'm happy and then I get back to sad. So it's coming and going. What is the solution to it? So these three people were very concerned about their happiness and their misery coming and going. So they said, we need to find a permanent solution to it. right? So they were Addie, Fatty, and Maddie. 3 people. I couldn't figure out the name, but I was teaching Alia in the afternoon and she gave me the name. So it was Addie, Fatty, and Maddie. Those were 3 people. So they were very concerned about the village. People were not happy. So then they went to look for the happiness, permanent happiness for everybody. So they kept walking, and then they went so far, and then they saw a big wall. And then it shows that if they go the other side, the happiness become permanent. And they thought, okay, that's a good idea. We will find happiness, and then we will see what can we. It's a permanent happiness that we will find, and then we all be happy. So let's try and get to that wall. So Addie climbed the wall. Addie climbs the wall, and then he goes on top of the wall, and he saw that there was so much happiness there on the other side of the wall. Right? Everybody was enjoying, and they were full of joy, so Addie jumped the other side and got into those happy people around, and he merged into those happy people who were there already. So Addie left. Now Maddie and Fatty were sitting there waiting for Addie to come, but he didn't come. So they said, okay, now we have to go and see what happens, right? Then Fatty goes up on the wall and check what's going on there. Now Fatty gets to see this happiness, everlasting happiness on the other side. He gets very happy, and sometimes he sits down and watch them, and then sometimes he gets up and dance on the wall, and then sometimes he sits down and watch them, and then sometimes he gets up and dance with them with the music that they were playing, and then he kept doing that again and again. And then the last guy, Maddie, who was sitting on the other side, he couldn't understand what's going on there, right? So he went up and he saw that everybody was happy, right? So he said, let me learn from them and get back to the village and somebody has to go back to the village and tell them how to be happy, right? So he got all the knowledge how these people were happy, and he went back to the village and tell everybody. So now what it is the enlightened people are these 3 kinds: Addie, Maddie, and Fatty. How are they? So Addie, who got enlightened, got the permanent happiness and stayed in there, right? So he did not come back, he stayed in there. So these kind of guys, they go to the mountain, in the cages, do meditation, and they are happy by themselves. They got enlightened, they don't do any social interaction, right? So that's the one kind of enlightened people who go in the mountain and stay there. The second, which was Fatty, those kind of enlightened people, they enjoy the happiness. They come out, they see the trees, the plants, the rivers, and they say, oh my God, God is so, so nice, and He created such a wonderful world, and He is so good, and then go back into their meditation back. And they again get into the permanent happiness zone, and he comes out and go, but there is very less social interaction. The third kind of person, that is Maddie, who actually get enlightened and they come back and teach everybody, like teach people like us and show us like what is out there to get permanent happiness. So they come back and they teaches everybody what they got, and they become spiritual teachers, right? So then enlightened people are 3 kinds. None of them you can say that's not good or that's not good, or that Fatty is better than Maddie or Maddie is better than Addie. That is not the way we can evaluate them. They all 3 are good. They do their work, they do their actions, but they all do actions, right? Here nobody stops doing action. But one person who comes back and teaches other, those are the spiritual gurus that are out there, and we learn their experience, and that's how we get to know that how enlightened people can, how everybody can get this knowledge, right? So whenever we talk about enlightened people, they don't stop their action. They continue their action, but they do different kind of actions, right? Some come back to teach us. some put hospitals and clinics and institutes and all these things, and they make the world a better place to live for everybody else. They serve others. Some people enjoy their own freedom, and they go in the mountain and they worship God, and they enjoy that part only. They don't come into social interaction, but still they do actions, right? So those are three kind of people. So now God is saying that, look at me, I still do action, so you have to do actions too, right? So this is the shlok number 22nd that we read. So now Krishna Bhagavan goes to the next convincing part, right? So he is trying to convince Arjun to do some action, right? So now the three kind he already convinced. He told him what his idols do, right? What other idols of his, like Raja Janak, is doing. Then he says what leaders does, and then he says what I do as a Krishna, right? So he said three things to Arjun so far. Now fourth thing, what he's going to say. You ready? Nishi, we go to 23rd shlok.
Yadi aham navarteyam.
Yadi hyaham navarteyam.
Jatu karmanya andrita.
Jatu karmanya tandrita.
Mama vartamanu vartante.
Mama vartmanu vartante.
Manusya partha sarvasa.
Manushya partha sarvasha. Together. Yadi hyaham navartayam jatu karmantadindritam mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. So in this he says, if I do not engage in the action, so as an enlightened person or as an incarnation of Vishnu, if I do not engage into this action, what's going to happen? That the human life will fall apart, right? It come to the grinding halt of this whole universe, right? So now he is putting some fear into Arjun. If I don't work, right, as an enlightened person or as a incarnation of Vishnu, as a god, or as a guru, if I stop working, what happens? That human life gets on halt. That's what he said. So now we have to think about it, how it is important for human life to circulate, that everybody has to do action, right? Now here Krishna Bhagavan is just telling it that this is me who stopped working, just me, one person. He is not saying that I'm God and I stopped working. What he is saying, as me, one enlightened person, stops working, what happened? The whole human system stops working.
Yeah, but that's because he's God.
Yeah, but even if you look at that if human race stops working, if Brahman stops coming, working, then the whole universe is destroyed.
Yeah, I guess, but there's always like more people to teach others, not just one person.
Yeah, true. So he's telling Arjun the consequences now, right? If you go towards inaction, what happens, right? So that's how it is. So it's a very easy shlok. So it just says that, Arjun, if you don't follow this, if I stop working, then the whole universe stops working. Okay, we're gonna go to the next verse, 24.
Utsiduyur ime loka.
Utsiduyur ime loka.
Na kuryam karma ched aham.
Na kuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upanyam inma prajaha.
Upanyam pajaja. Together. उत्सिलयोर्मे लोका न कुर्यं कर्म चेदहं शङ्करस्य च कर्तास्य उपहन्यामि मा प्रजा. So now he says, again he continues with the previous verse. He said, if I stop working, if I cease my action, the world will perish. So the world will go away and it will cause a lot of confusion and then ruin the whole entire world and human beings. Right? So he's just saying that the consequences will be that everything will be gone. Right? So now he's explaining that what are the consequences of inaction, not doing any action. What are the consequences? So he's explaining that if Krishna Bhagavan doesn't work, right? First of all, if Krishna Bhagavan doesn't work, then what's going to happen? As a leader, the followers will not work. They will stop working. So same as Arjun doesn't work, then the followers will not work, right? So the followers will follow him, followers will follow Krishna Bhagavan. So if he doesn't work, then the spirituality doesn't, like if Krishna Bhagavan doesn't work, then no work is being done and the human race will get destroyed. Right? So he is giving the straight answer in here. Now, when we talk about enlightened people, right, if they don't work, right, so it is very important to think about that too. In Sharda Devi, who was Ramakrishna Paramhan's wife, right? Krishu, it got turned off. Awesome. Okay. So then, got it? Okay. So now what happens is, if you remember my first thing, that work ethical, unethical goes to ethical and ethical goes to the spiritual. So that's what we have to always think about it, that, you know, work has to be done, right? So we have to do the action. It has to do, if it is worldly action, still the action has to do. Not everybody will do spiritual action, right? Not everybody will get to do serve others. There will be some worldly action that you will be doing to yourself that you have to do, then you have to do that action too. Think about just a simple logic, right? In one day, if you don't have a phone, you don't have a TV, you don't have anything to do, and you are sitting down on the couch, would you survive that day?
Yes. Yeah.
How?
I would go
How?
outside.
No, nothing. You just have to sit on the couch whole day.
I would go to sleep.
For the whole 24 hours?
Yeah.
Is that what you think?
I mean, I
Is
could
it possible
survive.
to do that? Is it possible to keep doing without action, going all the time, just being yourself alone on the couch
No,
for
not
days and
forever.
days? So that's what it is, right?
You would go insane.
Yeah, you go insane, right? You cannot do that. You will not survive eventually, right? So the same way Krishna Bhagavan is saying, as soon as you stop doing the action, either secular or spiritual, both action, you will not survive, right? And so till now, till this shlok, God actually took 6 ways, 6 psychological ways for convince Arjun. What are those 6 ways? Let me tell you. I was telling while I was reading the shlok, but then 6.
Devotion.
Okay, Krishna, you want to teach?
No, in my book, all the 6 ways are just written right there.
Okay. First was devotion. What was devotion? Devotion was that your ideal, Arjun's ideal was like Raja Janak, right? So he gave an example of Arjun's devotion, right? That Janak did karma yoga, right? You remember the story of Janak from last time?
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what, he gave an example of Raja Janak. That if Raja Janak did the karma yoga and got it, then your idol did that, you should be doing that too, right? Now, next he said, Krishu, your book has that.
Persuasion.
Persuasion.
That's very funny.
Persuasion. How did he do? He said, at least if you don't want to fight for yourself,
And
fight for the welfare of others. Fight for welfare of others. The third one was
Vanity. It's in my book.
vanity. What is vanity? That you are a leader. People follow you. So lead by example. Right? What is fourth one?
Personal appeal.
Yeah.
Personal appeal. What is personal appeal? That I do it.
So you
I
it
do
too.
action.
So you do action too.
So you do it too.
Follow.
So you follow. Do it too.
Wait, so vanity is like you lead and four is you follow. Personal appeal is you follow.
Yeah, because personal appeal, he's giving his own example.
Yeah.
Like I keep on saying to you, how many times that I say, oh, when I was kid, I
Yeah.
used to do that. That's
But, like,
personal
if
appeal.
I'm like sitting around doing something, you'd be like, if I was you, I would do it.
Yes.
I
So
would
that's
worry
what
about
Krishna
it.
Bhagavan is
And
saying.
the
First he
fifth
was saying, you should not be doing it. You are a leader.
Exactly.
Then he said, if I would be you, I would be doing this.
Exactly.
Or I am doing this. So that was the personal appeal. What was the fifth one?
Fear.
Hmm?
Fear.
Fear. Yeah. He said, if you are not understanding, let me put fear. Like if I stop doing action, what's going to happen? Inaction will
Lead to
Lead to-
consequences.
lead to consequences. Right? Then it's going to lead to, yes, Risha?
What's the second one?
Persuasion. And then sixth one
Threat.
is threat. Threat is that the whole world will get destroyed. Now, by listening to all this, will Arjun, if you are Arjun, would you start fighting? Would you start taking the action?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to, right? So he already told everybody everything here. He went from his devotion to giving a threat that if you don't fight, if you don't take action, what's going to happen is the world will get destroyed. Right? So he gave all this psychology to Arjun to convince him to take action, to do action. Right? You guys got that? Let's get to now a different set. So till now he was, yes Avika.
What does the top of the whiteboard say?
6 psychological way
Okay.
that Krishna Bhagavan used to convince Arjun. Okay. So now what happens is after this, now he already, Sean, can you sit a little bit far? Okay. So then what happened is, now Krishna Bhagavan convinced Arjun to take action. So he gave all the reason why he should be taking action. Now he's going to tell between 25 and 35 shlok, he's going to explain the technique of right actions. What are the right actions? That you need to know, right? I keep on saying do action, do action, do action. And you will say, yeah, I will do action. I will hit somebody.
But what action to do?
Or what actions to do. We need to know that too, right? And Arjun need to know that too. What kind of action? So now Krishna Bhagavan will explain the technicality or technique of doing right action, right? So from 25 to 35, it's going to be about what are the right action that we should be doing. Okay, you ready to sing the 25th?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Sakta karmanya avidvamso
Sakta karmanya vidvamso
yatha karvanti bharata
Yatha kurvanti bharata
kuryad vidvams tatha saktas
Kuryad vidvamsata saktas
kirsur loka sangraham
Chiti surloka sangraham. Together, beautiful. Sakta karmanya vidvanso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvamsata saktas chiti surloka sangrama. Okay, so now he starts saying, he actually described two people in this, unwise and wise. Unwise means ignorant, right? Who doesn't have the knowledge, who is not taking the path of spirituality yet, who is not aware and thinks this body, mind and intellect is what they are, right? Those kind of people. And then he put wise people, right? So he said that wise people, unwise people do all that action with
Attachment to the result.
You just read it.
You read your slok. That's okay. I like this proactiveness. That's okay if you did. So, wise and ignorant. Now we need to keep thinking about where do we put ourselves. Okay, guys. Now we are on 3rd chapter of Gita. So we have to keep evaluating ourselves. Where do we stand? So ignorant is do work or action with attachment. Okay. So what he is saying that the unwise person means ignorant person do action with attachment. Now what he is explaining here, the wise person do work or action for Nanu for
Others.
For others. Yeah.
for higher goal, higher ideals
Which
or
is
goal.
And without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path.
Without
You're just reading something.
attachment,
Like, yeah, but you.
right?
Yeah.
So he says the action, how they are different, wise and ignorant people, with the attachment, right? So any action that you do it with attachment. When you say this is me and mine, whenever the work is related to me and mine, there is an attachment. Wherever the work doesn't have me and mine, that comes in this category. There is no attachment to it, right? Even the person who does a voluntary action and think about that I am me doing voluntary action. Me, I am the one who is doing this voluntary action. What happens to that action? That action is
Attachment.
with attachment. Right? That action, again, even if you are doing good, that's an ethical action. You remember, it did not become a spiritual action. That's the difference. What did it become? Ethical action. I'm doing this voluntary action. I'm doing this voluntary. I'm actually packing some sandwiches for people. I'm going to give it to food to other people. But I am doing it. Wherever this thing comes that I am doing it, this thing for these people, then it becomes work with attachment. As soon as the same work would be like, hey, it's not the little I that I am attached to or I am doing this. It's just that God gave me to do this action and I'm giving this food too. But it's not like I'm feeling proud of myself doing those actions. I'm not going and telling everybody that I'm doing that action. Then it becomes a spiritual action, right? And then it becomes action without attachment, right? So when you are thinking about that, oh, I need this, I need that, as we talked about before too, with the desire that I need gold, I need this and that. And people, Ramakrishna Paramahans used to say that people cry for their children, people cry for their wives, their money, wealth, people cry for that, bucket and bucket, they cry for that. But if they cry one time for God, they can attain God. How easy it is. But what they spend whole their life crying for material stuff, right? So that's how it is. So when you keep on thinking it's mine and it's me and mine, that's the whole process changes. Now you know what? You can think about it. There are animals, right? Lion is furious, right? A carnivorous. Can he become a herbivorous?
No.
Does he have a flexibility of doing that?
No.
A deer who is really calm and gentle, can he become like a lion, a furious person?
No.
No, right? But can human be carnivorous and herbivorous?
Yeah.
So human has so much flexibility. He can be as furious as lion and he can be as gentle as deer, right? So only human has this flexibility of doing that, right? So we have the flexibility of doing anything that we could do. So what he's saying, God, here is that we can do action with attachment and keep it as a worldly action, a secular action, or change that to unattached action and become the spiritual action and become the wise person there, right? So he's explaining that in this. Now, anything else on that? Okay, so that's what this shlok says. We're going to do 26th and then we'll end. So let's do one more, the 26th I have, and then we will end. Okay.
Okay. Na buddhi bedam janayat.
Na buddhi bedam janayet.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Josayat sarva karmani.
Joshayat sarva karmani.
Vidvan yukta samakaran.
Vidvan yukta samacharan. Together. Na buddhi bedam janayet. Ajnanam karma sanginam. Joshayat sarva karmani. Vidvan yukta samacharan. Okay, here he says that being centered in the divine, right? When you go and talk to this person who is unwise, who is ignorant, right? Who is not spiritually smart, do not confuse them. Do not confuse them. Those people. Now, what is he talking about here and who people he is talking about? So do not confuse them and engage them as the way they are. Right? Swami Vivekananda said this thing, that you take everyone where they are and lift them upward. What does that mean? So now he is talking about not to confuse what people? Now, not to confuse the ignorant people. What confusion is he talking about in this? Like we are talking about this thing that everything is Brahman, the ultimate happiness lies in knowing your real self. You are not this body, mind and intellect. You are not this. If you teach this to anybody, right, who has not started their study of spirituality, and they said that, you know what, I want to earn a lot of money. I need a big house. If you go to that person who is ignorant, on that and you say no, stop everything and just think about you as a Atman, as a consciousness, and go with it, would you confuse them, or would they listen to you and say, okay, let me think about that way? What's going to happen to that person?
They'll like not listen to you.
They will confuse and they will not listen to you, right? So they are not ready to listen to that level of spirituality. They are not ready. That's why what they say, go to ethical first and then go to the spiritual work, right? So this person, you cannot say, no, don't earn any money. Stop earning any money. What you could say is, yes, you should earn money. But how would you should earn money? The ethical way. Don't go unethical, right? Do ethical way, earn money. You can be billionaire if you want to. You earn money, earn ethical way. So that's the first step. So wherever the person is, uplift that person to the next level, right? And then uplift it from there. When they get to the ethical way, you uplift them to the next level, which is the spiritual way, right? So what is God saying in this? That do not confuse the people who are not starting anything yet, right? Wait, get where they are and get to the next level. Take them upward. Don't take them all the way to the spiritual level where they cannot even understand and they get confused, right? You got it? Okay, let's close it. And Nishi, we have next 27, 28 and 29 and 30. You can do that, right? Okay. Sounds good. You did very well.
What about the next person if we...
Next person, who wants to take the next? Ansh, you want to take next? From 31 to 40?
But Krishna said it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Let's say. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay guys, thank you. Yes, yeah.